Hi, AT from CNC at Home. In a previous video, we made this template for the Atomstack P7 laser, and this gives us a nice little 0 point down here, so when this is hooked in, I can put pieces of material right down here and always have it zeroed properly, and I can repeat that process over and over. I have a couple projects that I'd like to do where I can use this template. I purchased some blank dog tags off of Amazon. I'll put the link to that down in the description below. And etching on these is kind of a cool thing, and I have a couple projects. One is for Geek Weekend. I've mentioned that way back in some videos. My brother and I get together and we do all sorts of weird things, computer stuff, junk food, watch movies, play on the computers, and maybe do some stuff on the computers too. Do some electronics, rocketry, all sorts of just fun things that we don't get a chance to do throughout the year. Last year I did some coasters for that. I'll put that up over here if you want to watch that video. This year I'm going to do dog tags. And before we do dog tags, what I'd like to do is create a dog tag template. So we'll go into Lightburn and I'll show you that, and then go through just a quick, here's how I did the Geek Weekend dog tag, and then also BuckFrenzy, which you've maybe heard me mention before. I want to do some dog tags for that, for the dads and kids that come out to that event. I know it's a long ways out. It's not till August, so that's how many months? I can't do the math. It's 7.5 months away still. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into Lightburn. I'll show you how I created my template for the dog tags, and then we'll go to the laser and burn a couple of these. We'll burn the Geek Weekend one, and we'll burn a BuckFrenzy one as well, see how that does. So let's go over to Lightburn. I'd like to go through how I built my dog tag template within Lightburn. It's a fairly easy process. I like making templates because that will show me what my material is size-wise and where I can put images, text, that sort of thing, and not have to be guessing or measuring every single time. I'm going to start with the rectangle tool and just draw a random rectangle, and then make sure that my aspect ratio is unlocked, and then key in some dimensions. In measuring the dog tag itself, it was 50 millimeters wide and 28.9 high. So I keyed those values in, and that's the basic rectangular size of our template. I'm going to put that down in the lower left corner and zoom in on that so we can see what we're doing. The next thing is to do another square, again, just kind of a random size. The height of this will be the same, so 28.9. And the width is going to be 40.5. These dimensions are my approximate working area without too much of the curve getting involved. So it's a nice rectangular area where I've got full reign. Then I will just take this and I'll move it to the center. There, we just saw that snap into place. The other thing I could do is I could pick our good internal working area, press Shift, select the overall size, and then I can do an alignment horizontal and an alignment vertical. Both techniques work well. So here's our basic dog tag. There is a hole, so I select the circle tool. While holding the Shift key, I get a perfect circle, so I'll just do some random size. Lock my aspect ratio back up, and this is 3.5 millimeters. There, it's sized correctly. And the edge dimension from here to here, we measured that. That's going to be our X position, and that was 3.1 millimeters. And then we want that centered vertically. So we have our 28.9, and I can just say divide by 2 right in my input field, hit enter. This circle is now exactly where I need it to be. That's really all we need to do. I want to clean this up a little bit, make it look more like the dog tag. So I select my overall size of the dog tag, come over here to my shape properties, and we can add a corner radius. I'll just start adding a corner radius till it's about there. That looks like it joins in right about here down to there. If I wanted to get really fancy, I could try making this vertical edge on both sides a slight curve as it is on the real dog tag. That's more work than I really want to put into a template. This doesn't have to be hyper accurate. It just needs to be close enough. Mainly what I'll use is this rectangle. Everything inside of that rectangle is fair game. I can put pictures, images, and it'll fit on the dog tag. I do have to watch out for this hole, and that's why I put it in here, so that if I've got a letter that comes down into here, I know that it won't show up on the dog tag. I also know that outside of this, especially towards the middle, I have extra room I can sneak out into here because that's physically on the dog tag. Now that I have my template, all I have to do is save it, and then I can bring this up every single time I'm starting a new dog tag project. So let's go ahead and do that. Starting with this template, what I want to do is something for Geek Weekend that's coming up. I also want to do something for BuckFrenzy that isn't till the end of the summer, but you can never get started too early. So I will start with some text. And for a Geek Weekend, I'm going to come down here and use this MS Shell Dialog 2. And we know this is going to be too big, but I'm just going to type in Geek Weekend. I know I want to have this on 2 lines, so I'll just come back and hit enter so it's on 2 lines. And let's make this smaller. Probably need to be somewhere in here between the 8 and 10 millimeter size. This might work well. I want to have this less left justified. We'll just pull this over. We'll get this on a better layer too. Let's do that. Get this on a layer. Make sure that it's filled. And we'll also want to make sure that we're using the correct settings. So I do have in my library, I do have dog tags, the black and the orange dog tags. I want to etch with a border. The border basically, once it's filled in, it will trace around each letter, and that kind of cleans off those edges. So I'll assign that to my layer. If we look at this layer, we'll see that we have these 2 different, well, a sublayer essentially. We've got layer 2 is a sublayer. So this first one will do the fill, and the second one will come back and do lines. So it'll just trace around the edge of our letters. So I want to move this over a little bit. So we'll do something like that. You'll see I did go past my working area, which is fine because I know I have some room out here. I want to get the date in here. So we'll do 2023. And to make this look a little different, I will pick a different font. I'm going to use the stencil font for that. So we'll just come down. Stencil. And then if I press Shift and select our working area, I can then move this, get that, oops, I always get these backwards. I can get that moved over like that. It's a little low, so I will hold the Control key and use the up arrow to move that up just a little bit. Okay, that looks good. I want to fancy this up a little bit, so I'm going to give myself a little more room here by changing my vertical spacing. I'm going to make that negative so these 2 lines are a little closer together. Yeah, that looks good. And then in my art library, I'm going to go to my fancy lines. I've got one in mind I'd like to put in there. We'll just bring this fancy line over, scroll out so we can see it. That's not the one I wanted. Get rid of that. Is this the one I wanted? That's the one I wanted. There we go. So with this image, what I'll do is right click it and I will do a trace image. And I'll make sure my delete image after trace is turned on. Click that. And then this is now a vector drawing of that fancy line. We can take that and move it over here. It's a little big. So we'll just shrink it down. Something like that. Still a little big. I will switch to my center for where it will adjust it, and I'll just start lowering it using the percentage. Okay, we'll just bring this over about like that. I'll zoom back in on this whole thing. We'll do something like that. So we've got Geek Weekend, got this fancy line, and then the date. On the back of these, I can put names or birth dates and stuff like that, but it's essentially the same process. Now that we have this all set up, we can save it. I have my parameters set, so I know that this is going to burn how I want it to. In addition to Geek Weekend, I want to do some dog tags for BuckFrenzy. So we'll start with some text, and this time we'll change to something a little fancier. I believe what the font I want is the Edwardian script. Yeah, there it is. So we'll just type in BuckFrenzy. That positioned over here. And if I was smart, I would have this center automatically. There we go. And that can be bigger. So let's go ahead and make that font a little bigger. That might be too big. Let's stop at 10. Get that recentered. I just press the Shift key when I select my area that I'm working with. And then we will center that. Okay, that looks good. It does creep out a little bit here and here, and that's fine because we know we have a little extra room over there. The other thing we want to do with BuckFrenzy is have the year. I'll go ahead and type that in. We'll use a different font for this as well. We'll use that stencil font. And get that centered in our working area. Okay, good enough. Wouldn't mind this being a little heavier, so let's go ahead and click that and turn the bold on. Now I see with the bold on, some of these letters don't line up quite as nicely. So what we can do there is we can change their horizontal positioning a little bit. Maybe one more click. That looks good. So now these blend in a little bit better. And we can make the font slightly larger. So what if we go to, no, not 23. Let's go to 12. That's too big. Maybe 11. No, bring that over. We'll align it here again. We'll hit Shift, click here, and we'll get our line on the vertical center. There we go. Again, creeps out of our working area just a little bit, but it should fit because there's an arc. I mean, these radiused corners, and then there's a bit of an arc, so it doesn't look like that should be too much of an issue. Maybe bring that up just a little bit more. We centered that, didn't we? Yep. Okay. So there we go. And our burn parameters are still set from the last time, so this is all set to go. We'll just save this, and we can start burning these. Let's go over to the laser and see how they turn out. Over at the laser, let's get our fixture put into place so that we can get our material in the correct spot. So we just hook this on the front of the Atomstack P7, make sure it's up against that bottom rail, place our dog tag template in place, and start the burn. Speed it up a little bit here for the main part of that. This next part of the burn is actually outlining each one of the letters, and I'm running this at 4,000 millimeters per minute, so it's going kind of fast. It was fun to watch this. There we go. We have a dog tag all set up for Geek Weekend, and I can do something on the back if I want to, or just leave it blank. We'll switch over to the orange dog tags for BuckFrenzy. With the fixture in place, I can place the piece of material in there real easily and start the burn. Let's get that zoomed in a little bit so we can see better how that's doing. One of the downsides to this Atomstack is you can't see where the burn's happening until the laser head moves away. There we go. That looks pretty good. With our fixture in place, I pull one tag out, put a blank tag in, and tell Lightburn to start the program again. Another one done. Pull the finished product out. I moved the template or our fixture a little bit, made sure that was still pushed in correctly. Put another blank in place. Start the next burn. I just do this over and over. Our template or our zeroing fixture worked excellent. I was able to put those dog tags in over and over and repeat the process. The dog tags themselves turned out nicely. Here's on a chain, here's one of the Geek Weekend ones. That turned out really well. On the back of that, I put the word guest, because we do have people who show up to geek with us. And then here's one of the BuckFrenzy ones that I did. Those turned out real nicely. On the back of that, what I'm thinking I'll do is bring the Atomstack P7 with me to BuckFrenzy, and any of the dads or kids who want their name, birth date, something, whatever on the back, will be able to engrave that. It takes about 2 minutes, especially with our fixture. Just hook this into place, and as you saw, we just take the dog tag, slide it right in here, and that's the 0 point for the machine, and I can just run the program over and over. So that'll be really cool. We'll see how that works out. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I enjoyed making it. If you like the content of our channel, think about subscribing. That really helps us out. Enjoy doing your CNC at home projects.
Oops.
No? Yeah, there we go. Helps if you turn the audio on before you start recording. Oh well, here we go. Take 39. Bye-bye.